Cheers, thank you. I've got a screen, phenomenal. You did say it correctly. Brilliant. Yeah, so Mahkra and Orroz. Sounds a bit weird. I love play on words, things like that. And the actual title comes from this really well-known Batman graphic novel called Batman R.I.P. And the idea behind it is, what happens with a real in the trenches story with one person versus, dozens, hundreds, possibly thousands, what kind of toll is taken on the person fighting those forces, basically what happens when you put Zorro in Arkham Asylum along with the other lunatics, what is the end result of this? But I didn't get started in IT or InfoSec or anything like that. I actually started off with a fine art degree. I used to paint pictures. I used to wave a stick at an orchestra briefly, did theatre work, things like that. But everything took a very strange turn, and I somehow ended up in the wacky world of computer security and technology and hunting down hackers and malware authors. So, the question is, how did someone go from painting these really bad pictures with these awful, really dated 1990s Kenwood shirts and jackets to playing a gag on Homeland and hoping he thought it funny enough not to shoot me in the head, frankly. Well, we've got to go back to the late 90s where, I was new to the internet like a lot of people back then. Started making friends around the world, and this was, a big novelty at the time. And one of my best friends was that I came across at university. Won't name the country that she lived in, but she was interested in Chinese cinema and martial arts and things like that. And so was I, and I quickly started hitting up a friendship with this person, started writing guest blogs on a website. None of these are online anymore, so don't go digging around for really bad, poorly written blogs from then, because I've got plenty of those now, frankly. But she had lots of problems. She had lots of personal issues, and she was in with a real bad crowd, and she lived somewhere where law enforcement wouldn't or couldn't really do anything about it. And as the friendship progressed, I found out the guy she was hanging out with was a real bad character. He was into drugs, he was into guns, he was into all sorts of dodgy dealings, and he'd drag her along to these really dodgy meetings where you didn't really know if she was going to get out of it alive or not, frankly. And he also started to get her hooked on his supply, basically, and she got worse and worse, and she'd be very erratic to talk to. So I hatched this plan to get her out of this situation, as you do. So the really bad plan that I came up with was I was going to go and do a Teach English as a Foreign Language, I think it's TEFL thing, pass that down in London, and then fly out to Japan, covertly get her out of the place that she lived in to Japan, get her cleaned up, and then, she could get on with her life, and, everything was great, fantastic. And of course, this all went horribly wrong in various ways. So I passed the course, I got a placement at this school in Japan, and, I soon got this letter through. We're closing for a long-term renovation, so if you do come out, you'll only be able to stay for a couple of months and then you have to go back. So this really elaborate plan we came up with to get her out of there and get her over to Japan fell through. So I applied immediately for another school that they recommended to me. And within a fortnight, I got told that this second school had actually burnt down. So this really didn't go very well at all, unfortunately. So while we were trying to come up with ways to get her out of this situation, we used to spend a lot of time talking on MSN Messenger, and this guy that she was with, he was in a flat a lot of the time. So we came up with this system where I pretend to be her friend Sophie from, the beach or wherever, and I've got a horse and this, that, and the other. So we'd have keywords. So when this guy was around, we'd use these keywords so we knew not to say anything stupid or incriminating, because this guy wasn't an idiot. But he was quite dangerous. I've just found out that this school has burned down. We're talking. I'm breaking the news sort of gently as I can that this has all gone wrong, and we're trying to figure out what we can do next. And then all this random chat text starts coming up on the screen from lots of old conversations. We're going back a good couple of months, and neither of us knew what was going on. But it was, if you could think of all the worst, most incriminating bits of conversation that we could have that you wouldn't want this guy to see, it was all there on the screen. And he put two and two together, and I found out afterwards that he basically beat her up quite badly, put her in hospital. She stopped replying to MSN messengers, she stopped replying to phone calls, picking up, she stopped answering emails, And, you know, basically she just drifted away, and I never found out what happened to her. She just basically disappeared. But for a while I was in touch with this guy who was a mutual friend, and he knew a bit about computers. Had a look at this thing, worked out that this computer had been hacked in some way. And I was like, it's what? You know, and someone had hacked it, and they just chosen it. This random person had picked this random moment in time to start pasting up all of this garbage on her screen with no idea of, you know, the actual real world consequences that came about as a result afterwards. So after this, you know, I did what most people would do. I went off to mainland China and got kidnapped. That is a long story and outside the scope of this particular talk. Maybe next year, I don't know. But I spent a long time trailing around the mainland, fell in with lots of people who were into computers, because I didn't know anything about this at the time. And by chance, some of these people knew their way around computers, knew a bit about hacking, hung out in IRC and all the rest of it. And they started to teach me some of the basics. And, you know, I had this thought in the back of my head that maybe I could do something about the people that were doing this to people's computers, the people that were causing these impact on people's lives in really quite bad and dramatic ways. And while I was out there, I was kind of thinking, well, I need some sort of online handle, I need a username, something, but I couldn't really come up with anything that was any good. I came across this festival one night in one of the villages, this Hungry Ghosts festival. Some of you will be familiar with these, and depending on which part of Asia you're in, generally the idea is that the dead ancestors come back for a period of time, and you have to burn specific offerings for them, or depending on the part of the world you're in, these ghosts might be slightly grumpy all the way up to, you know, throw your cat in the river and then burn down the village grumpy, and they become these sort of unstoppable vengeance machines. So, you know, I'm watching these people burning this paper money and doing this festival and everything else. And one of them who was into all the hacking and stuff said, oh, you know, maybe you could call yourself Paper Ghost. You know, that's got a nice ring. So I was like, oh, Paper Ghost. Yeah, that's nice. Paper Ghost, we'll go with that one. So that's where I got this handle from. And I was like, right, I'm going to show these guys what's up. I'm going to learn all this stuff and get online and try and do something about it. So I was effectively self-taught. I learned a lot of things from US-based grassroots forums like Spyware Warrior and Castle Cops, Bleeping Computer, blogged in my spare time while I was selling car insurance or God knows what, I don't remember. And by chance, I just started to write about things that started to get visibility in the press. You know, I didn't know what was interesting, what wasn't. I just blogged, and, you know, a lot of it was in the press. A lot of it caused hardware companies to get shut down from 2006 to 2008. I took down lots of phishing rings, hacking rings, groups dealing in illegal porn, you name it. I went out there and got them shut down, and got a lot of the research referenced in New York Attorney General State versus direct revenue, for example. Some of the research was used in one of those cases. So, you know, I carried on my merry way. I carried on learning and finding things out, working out how to get things taken offline as effectively as possible. And that was there. But then up stepped this person called 000. Now, I came across this group that were being very, very disruptive. They were hacking websites. They were into humiliation and blackmail, very, very sophisticated phishing attacks and support site defacements. You name it, these people were into it. And this handle kept coming back, 000 all the time. This person, you know, wasn't registered as an owner of any of these sites or anything like that. There were always people in between, but this person was always effectively pulling the strings in some way. And most of these forums had anywhere from 2,000 to 6,000, 7,000 registered users at a time. And there were basically 5 main websites, and each one unusually specialized in one very specific thing. Most forums at the time, you know, they dabble in exploits or hacks, then there'd be a phishing section, then there'd be a video games bit. These websites were just dedicated to one thing. So there was a general hack and defacement site that was all about hijacking people's PCs. They'd film them with webcams. You can see this one's having a chuckle because they got a priest with meat spin. Maybe I want to know what that is all about, maybe I don't, but that was the kind of thing they were doing. Then they would blackmail people for money not to release the videos and all the rest of it. There was another one that dealt with really, really specific rogue adverts. So they would compromise MySpace pages. They would purchase ad units in these sort of ad web rings where you could buy specific keywords, and then they'd roll these things out. They'd compromise more MySpace users and then use those to phish, to hack, whatever. And then there was another one that targeted kids mostly, specifically. So they'd make fake Habbo apps, fake child sort of target, Pokemon, all the rest of it. And then, of course, they try and cannibalize their own forum users. So they'd encourage all these young kids with a lot of the compromised MySpace pages to get on there, and then they'd infect these kids and send them out into the wild with these infected PCs. So this was mainly what these people were all about. And I was looking through a whole bunch of stuff to see what they were doing, what they were up to, so I could start the usual procedure of shutting these people down. And I came across this specific forum post by this 000 person. I'll zoom in on some of the text. Years back, I'd sit in on chats on MSN and mess with their stuff, open up browsers, paste their chat back at them. Here's a few screens. I'm sure you can guess what's coming next. Here's my friend's blog. This blog has been hacked by 000, owned all your expletive, you expletive. So at this point, I'm like, oh my God, really? Yeah. So I'm digging into this more. Here's some chats I ripped from hacked computers. Now, none of the chats that we had were in this collection or any of the other collections that this person had put online, because I think I'd probably try and reach through the screen and strangle him, to be honest. But this was, I was kind of convinced that this had to be the person. It was too much of a coincidence. But whether it was them or wasn't them, or it was completely unrelated, they were into all sorts of really bad things, and they had to be stopped. So there were these 5 primary hubs. Every mod had 3 to 5 websites that they were, helping to assist with this. They had bulletproof, real dodgy hosting, URLs, all of there were .coms, there were .cns, .brs, you name it, they were into it, basically. So, I set about shutting them down, getting them taken down, the usual tricks and techniques that I would use. So over the period of a week or two, this was par for the course. All my sites are gone, my account's cancelled. What's happened? I haven't seen so and so all day. Did he get owned or something? Did his hosting get shut down? What's going on? Here's one of the website chat rooms. Where is everyone? Where's the links gone? Has the forum gone? I need a link. Is anyone here? No. It turns out one of the websites had connections to Finland. And by complete chance, one of these people that I got shut down got reported to law enforcement, and a whole bunch of them had the police show up. Yes, I was like you. Police came, so I was Blair. That's definitely one way to put it, I guess. So this continued, as fast as I could get these sites shut down, they kept coming back. It really was whack-a-mole. It was 15, 16 hours a day just taking down hundreds of these websites, only to see some of them come back, and then they go offline and come back. And it turned out that the main person that was acting as a go-between for this 000 character and the bulletproof host been given a full working cPanel and a full refund of $200 for all the sites and the inconvenience that the website owners had suffered. The person providing the bulletproof hosting was now giving them money back for the inconvenience of having all their garbage taken offline. So I jumped onto one of the forums with a fake account that I'd been cultivating for a few months, got talking to one of the owners, and said, I know the guy that works for the company. If you have the name of the support staff guy that's telling you to delete these threads to appear legitimate, I'll go and have a word and tell him to leave you alone. I didn't think this was going to work, but of course they gave me the support guy's name. So, brilliant, jumped into the web chat and told this guy, the site owner didn't remove links voluntarily after being reported. You told him to take them down so you could carry on hosting their garbage. Also, here's some screenshots of you telling him this, which I also acquired. And I basically gave them an hour to delete the forum permanently before I sent all of this information that I gathered on them for months and months and months to law enforcement. So the link there that I've blanked out at the bottom there is basically them throwing out a 404 page. They spent 59 minutes almost exactly before they decided to shut this down. Still sent everything to law enforcement, and they disappeared pretty soon after, because this host made the mistake of being based in the States, and they went bang. So, I thought, well, brilliant, great, they've gone. I've got rid of them. I've taken down this 000. All of their garbage websites have gone. Fantastic. But there was this individual, because there was content that was still appearing on MySpace all throughout this, causing real problems over in MySpace land. I'm not going to name this person, but they seemed to act as a go-between between these 5 forums. All the garbage that was made on these forums, the hack tools, the fish kits, the exploits, would all be ferried over to MySpace groups by this individual. So I was kind of curious why, who this person was, what the connection was. So I'd taken down one pile of garbage, and now I was left with this new pile of garbage over on MySpace, handily the MySpace connection. So this person would build so-called MySpace speed demon tools. So, password crackers, email crackers, something like this, the MySpace lottery. This was a dedicated group of trolls on MySpace who went out of their way to cause problems for the users there. Now, back then, you couldn't really get support or help easily for substance abuse problems or just abuse in general or crime things or suicide things. It didn't exist. Most people at the time would jump onto a private MySpace group to get help with people with similar problems. These guys built this tool to jump into these private groups, and then they would create sock puppet accounts. They would try and convince people on suicide forums to kill themselves. People who'd suffered abuse, they would post up abuse pictures. It was really bad. So they built stuff like this on these forums, port it all over to these MySpace guys, and then they would just run wild with these tools. And stuff like this as well. They would come up with exploits where you would embed a piece of code on your MySpace page and then hook it up to an IP address tracker. And then if I visited your profile while you had this code on your page, I would automatically be subscribed to your video channel. So they were using this to track if, say, law enforcement appeared on their page. They would know that, officer whoever was snooping around, or, Steve McSecurity researcher popped up on their page. They would know. So a lot of this needed to be shut down because they were really going all out, and if someone went near suicidal, they post up screenshots of, their trophies or this, that, and the other, we've won. The guy that was pushing all of this stuff eventually made the mistake because he wasn't a very good hacker particularly, and he got into the habit of hacking websites, defacements, all the rest of it. He made a mistake, didn't switch on his VPN, hacked one particular website with his home IP address. So of course the site admin posted up his IP, an email address connected to it, and a bunch of info about forum posts, which went about as well as you can imagine for him. From what I know, I have 100 felony charges against me. Someone up on high reported me and got word of it. I don't know what to do. I may disappear. I'm so scared. I'm going to jail. As one of his compatriots put it, just pray, just pray. I agree, pray. And he, as far as I'm aware, had a visit from a 3-letter agency at some point, and he got into all sorts of trouble, and he started to feed me information on some of these MySpace trolls. So he became a valuable source of intel as he crashed and burned so spectacularly. So effectively, the pipeline was gone. All of these sites had been removed. The MySpace guys now had no way to create these tools or hack or attack people or make exploits. So they weren't very happy. This person posted anonymously, and this is just a small extract. This was about this big, this round. Really didn't like me. I'm considering making Chris Boyd my bleep. I despise bleep, and he's full of it. He would bleep, so naturally I bleep, bleep, bleep. And then before you know it, this guy's going on about George Hayduke, who wrote these books about, real world trolling and pranks, with a very, very thin line between prank and sort of, please don't do this illegal. And then by the end, he's going on about domestic terrorism and Timothy McVeigh breaking the bell curve on what would be considered a prank. I'm like, oh, okay, this is interesting. This is going places. So I'm trying to get a handle on this because there's this really, really angry bunch of people that have lost all of their playthings and their tools. And then on top of this, a new challenger appears. This person called Semprofade shows up on the MySpace forum. Anyone interested in doing something about this guy, that would be me, should hit me up. It's time to spring a few traps. So now I've got this Semprofade coming after me, trying to, round up the masses to get very angry and jump on his brand spanking new forum, which has been set up and designed to be all about me. Wonderful. So there's a forum section called The Game, there's Intel, there's forum takedowns and tools of the trade. The registered user count went up quite quickly, so I stopped counting after it went 350 plus. So that was exciting. And with the very first post, there's not only an incredibly cliched Art of War post there with he who is prudent and lies in wait for an enemy, who is not will be victorious. They're also talking about the fact that they've set me a number of tasks. They're going to make me jump through some hoops. Anyone wishing to help, please get involved. Now, you're probably wondering what tasks this person set me and how. All will now be revealed. It was great. Oh, brother, because step forward, my brother Wiles. My brother Wiles was my top friend on my MySpace profile, instead of burying him away out of sight, unfortunately. So, of course, while I was offline, while all this was going on, because I had some real world things to deal with, he left this post on my MySpace page. Check out the site I made. It's got a lot of our old things on it. Fantastic. So, of course, they clicked into this. They saw this wonderfully hideous website with all this garbage all over the place, broken links and all the rest of it. And if you clicked onto the latest pictures page, here's the first and only pic we have of Tanuki. Tanuki was my dog from years back, and we didn't have photos of this thing, apart from this one image that he'd found. So he put that up there. And then on another section, he had a work page. So all the databases that he'd made, all the forums that he'd built, shopping portals, they were all linked on here. Now, I had a database that I'd been building out for maybe 2-3 years, I don't remember. And it had information on all the groups I'd gone after, the individuals, personal information, adware vendors, ad networks, people I could get intel from, people I was using for intel, people I could sort of put the thumb screws on if I needed a bit more information. You name it, it was in there. And he'd gone and linked this thing on his work stuff page. Ceci n'a pas un database. So, you know, okay, fine. He's linked to this publicly, but you still got to log in. There's still a procedure in place. You can only try and log in twice and then it'll kick you out. What I didn't realize is he'd stuck a hint password thing at the bottom. I guess you can see where this is going. And of course, the question was best dog. Yeah, you've guessed it, Tanuki. So with that, they were in. They had access to 60 plus pages of all that stuff. This is information that you really didn't want to be getting out there in any way, shape or form, frankly. So now they had all this information, all the people I'd been putting the squeeze on, if you like, to get more information on more bad people, along with lots of other things they could use, and information about people I'd worked with as well. Yeah, it was all in there, from basic data to sites to files to associates, you name it, it was in there. So they had all of this information now that I've been using and used it to turn the tables on me. So they went about bursting my pipelines. So you've got this very long forum post here. Another Art of War quote: for them to perceive the advantage of defeating the enemy, they must also have their rewards. So, you know, he mentions that I've been playing ball with a couple of forums in return for intel on many of you. Please get over there, register on these forums, find out what you can, mess them up. And there's some helpful advice. You know, don't use a VPN or a proxy, use your real connection, because a lot of forums back then, if you used a proxy or a VPN, they wouldn't let you register, which seems slightly paradoxical on a criminal forum, but never mind. Do not mention this site. Do not use any handle you've registered here or any email address. Keep it all fresh. And admin accounts are the key. And at the bottom there in great big letters, add your alts to this spreadsheet so we're not owning ourselves or wasting time needlessly. Very important that they don't give the game away. So, of course, they go to this web ring with the top 4 or 5 sites listed that I've been using for information. And, you know, very, very quickly, all these sites start to be compromised. This one had all of the forum posts jacked and all the original posts deleted. This one, they deleted all the members. This one, they gained admin with a fish, and then they used that to gain intel and information on the people on the forum, and then threaten and blackmail those people. So, you know, I'd lost my database. I'd lost all the really super secret information that I was hoarding to take lots of people down. Now they'd gone and taken down a lot of these forums and compromised those and shut down the only, you know, real source of information I had coming in about these people left. It was all gone. Then it gets worse, because Wiles had left this comments page up, so it buried in amongst all the, you know, buy my handbag spam and check out my terrible website spam. This guy is, Wiles, having a few problems with the back end, please give me a call. And this was a bank manager guy that we'd worked with that managed our bank accounts. And he'd left his email address on there, his phone number on there, and it was quite obvious who he was and who he worked for. So, of course, we jump back to Semprophage, If ignorant both of your enemy and yourself, you're certain to be in peril. So he's hemming up what he's done to me at this point. He's saying what he's going to do, and the short version is they're going to access my bank manager's account. They're going to send money on to me, and then they're going to get me to forward this on to who I think is Wiles. Effectively, once this cash vanishes into the ether, they've basically turned me into a money mule. And of course, being a money mule is illegal and not something you want to be because it's very, very bad. So he recruits more people on the forum to get involved with this. Anyone that's good at the old, social engineering, making the malware, he wants them on board. This went on for a few weeks until someone got lucky with this thing. Pretended to be Steve from IT. Please note we need everyone to upgrade their systems with this program to continue processing transactions with our wiring setup. Please let me know once this is done. And of course, it's an executable file. And of course, he fell for it instantly. So now they had access to this guy's PC. So in they jumped, they went digging around, they went into all his files, they opened up this thing, that thing, the other thing. And of course, he had the text file in his documents folder that had all of his passwords in. Bank details, logins, emails, you name it, it was all in there. So now they had access to lots more information, lots more data, lots more things they could do bad things with. But primarily, they had the bank info that they needed to set this money mule thing in motion. And I knew that they had lots of information on Wiles. I knew that they were threatening outside of the forums to do all sorts of terrible real world things to him if I didn't play along with this. So my only real recourse at this point was to go along with it and hope it didn't get any worse. So of course, I get this email from the bank manager. I need to get this to Wiles ASAP for services rendered. I've sent the money your way already. Please get it to him. So there's a routing number, an account number, the amount, who it's going to be credited to, blah, blah, blah. This is all going to go horribly wrong. And I my hands are basically tied at this point. I'm only talking about a few small instances of what happened. There's loads more that happened, but I'm just picking the most hopefully interesting bits. So, at this point, my hands are tied. I had to do it. So Prophase jumps back on the forum. Person X who made the malware came up with the goods, deposit send. I'll let you be the one to send them your bleeped message and get the money moving to me. Actually, no, you can all email him at this address, have fun. So I got loads and loads and loads of really cheerful emails for a couple of days off the back of that one. Game over. They, very, very quickly, they completely demolished me in ways that I didn't expect. All good things must come to an end. So here's Prophase's final gloating forum post. Well, here we are, lots of fun, but now it has to end. I promised you a big reveal, and here it is. Who likes anagrams? See, they've destroyed my database after making a backup of it and stealing all the information and sending it to people that they shouldn't have done. They've removed my ability to collect data and intel by taking all of these websites and forums offline, my last source of information to do anything about these people. They've compromised my brother, they've taken down my bank manager, they've turned me into a money mule. At this point, I am absolutely comprehensively beaten within an inch of my life. But what if? See, it would be incredibly stupid, you would think, for me to leave Wiles as my top friend on MySpace when I knew all of these wacky things were happening behind the scenes. A sensible person would have moved them outside the top friends list unless they were there for a very, very specific reason. Now, Wiles has got a very interesting name. It's a medieval name, an occupational name, and it tends to be associated with mechanical fish trapping. Ceci n'est pas un database. This is, of course, a reference to the famous René Magritte painting, This Is Not a Pipe. But what people forget about this pipey picture is that it has another more well-known name, the treachery of images. Now, consider that they gained access to my database and my forums and my brother and my bank manager and everything else you care to mention because of this picture of my dog Tanuki. But what if this isn't Tanuki? What if this is Tanuki? What if Tanuki is an ancient Japanese god of tricks and traps? What if the database wasn't really a database, but was actually filled with lots of stock photo images of really nice looking people and lots of garbage data? What if the web ring wasn't really a web ring? What if the sites that this web ring linked to had lain dormant for many, many months before this, just on the off chance said forums might be needed? What if the big message saying, add your alts to this spreadsheet so we're not owning ourselves or wasting time needlessly, was turning one piece of of data on individuals into multiple pieces of data on individuals, from real names to home addresses to phone numbers to IPs, you name it, it was in there, photographs, the works. What if the bank manager's PC wasn't actually a bank manager's PC? What if it was actually a virtual machine sitting in someone's bedroom? What if the money that was sent from the bank manager to myself to the scammer wasn't sent from the bank manager to myself to the scammer? What if this was just a picture of somebody sending money to themselves? What if all of those completely cornball, ridiculous art of war quotes talking about people being prudent, lying in wait, and breaking the enemy without fighting, and all that other nonsense was actually strangely appropriate in this scenario? What if a prophage is the stage of a virus inserted into host DNA before attaining its real form inside the host? Who likes anagrams? I like anagrams. Did I make these people jump through hoops for 3 to 6 months of their lives, performing increasingly more ridiculous tasks, thinking that they were gathering lots of information on me, while all the while gathering tenfold the information on them? Yeah, I was. The impact was pretty instant. Oh God, no, dead. Kind of walked into that one, activating 7 proxies, and my personal favorite, is this bad? Yes. Yes, this is spectacularly bad. This is really, really super bad. I'm not really sure that I expected anybody to actually fall for this, because it's absolutely ridiculous. I actually got the idea for this from, as I mentioned at the start, this Batman RIP comic. But I just happened to be reading this thing at the time when this all kicked off, and it was all about, they found out Bruce Wayne's secret identity. They're going to take him down, his friends and family. They're going to destroy his ability to, take down the bad guys. And he basically creates this backup second self to combat these bad guys without them actually realizing it. And I sat down and thought about the logic of this. Am I really going to come up with a 3 to 6 month strategy to take down these bad guys based on some nonsense in a Batman comic? Yeah, go on. It'll make a good blog if nothing else. And amazingly it worked, but I didn't really know what the fallout was going to be after this. A lot of people just vanished, straight up. But surprisingly, a lot of people thought this was actually the coolest, if weirdest thing they'd ever seen. The fact that they thought this whole time they were really sticking it to me, when really, I just had them dancing like puppets for 3 to 6 months. It blew their mind, and a lot of them were like so amazed about the kind of things that they discovered about social engineering, about malware, about the fact that Prophage had a forum section that said, please send me all of your malware files so we can make sure we have a database of this stuff in case the forums get taken down again. When really they were just sending a security researcher lots of malware files that were then going out into Virus Total and elsewhere. They were amazed by this. So was I, frankly. And I took a lot of these people under my wing and taught them how to, do this stuff in a good way and take down bad things, and the satisfaction that you get for doing this. And a lot of them have moved into the security industry. Some of them have blogs. Some of them work for security companies. Brilliant. They're out there helping people. A lot of them did vanish. A lot of them just disappeared into the void, probably never to come back again, I guess. I'm sure some of them carried on with their dodgy dealings, but at the very least, I just wanted to give them a bit of pause for thought, because they were well into this. I've only given a few examples of the kind of things that they did. There were many, many other things and silly tasks and just absolute ludicrous instances that I had these people do. And all the while they're thinking, oh yeah, brilliant, this is great, we're going to get them. They didn't get them. We get taught these things on a daily basis. If you think about what we actually do as a job, as a career, you spend every day, every week, every month, every year, every decade learning how to be the worst possible person imaginable. We in this room, we all know all of these really bad ways to do really bad things to people. And the fact that you can learn all of this stuff and choose not to use it for those purposes, to me, is pretty incredible. And the fact that there are people who were completely punked by this, who decided to do the same thing. I'm reasonably proud of that. I think it was a good, if slightly ridiculous, thing to attempt. But that is indeed what happens when you put Zorro in Arkham. Thank you. Do we have any questions? There's another talk next. It's not me.
Have the writers of Mr. Robot bought the story yet?
No, the writers of Mr. Robot have not bought the story yet, but I've not actually seen Mr. Robot, so I'm going to have to pretend I understand the significance, I guess. He's the hackery guy with the hoodie and you got the hoodie. But no,
I was just thinking it would make a good film.
it might. It's actually incredibly hot with this thing on, actually. But yeah, no, it's certainly different. I suppose if I didn't have that background in art and design, like I used to do theatre, I used to do Shakespeare for a while, and probably if I didn't have that performing arts background there, I probably wouldn't have attempted this in a million years. But I honestly did just sit there and think, well, this will make a pretty good blog if it pays off.
Could someone go out and try and do something similar today, or is this something that was possible 10 years ago and in that environment?
Could someone do this today? I suppose the fact that I'm going around telling everyone about what I did at conferences probably scuppers it a bit. But you never really know who.
The same idea.
Oh yeah,
with a different target group against a different target group.
You could do. The main takeaway from this, I guess, is you never really know who is actually running these websites. And, it's the old, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. It was definitely the case here. You could definitely apply these same techniques to some other situation, but I suppose the situation that would necessarily arise where you would even attempt something like this would be so narrow that it would be quite a long shot for all those different factors to align. And I probably wouldn't attempt it again, to be honest. I'd just move to Mexico or something, I guess. Anyone else? How would this play out with a criminal organization? Yeah, it's going to have to be the last question. I guess we accept the reality that we're presented with, really, and I'm reasonably confident that this probably would have worked with another group, but then you probably wouldn't be interacting with a proper criminal organization on MySpace and these forums anyway, I guess. But again, this was basically a one-off, and this probably isn't something I would attempt again, just because it was such a long shot that anyone would even. Yeah, they literally could have just plugged semprophage into an anagram checker and go, oh, paper goes, But they didn't. That's how ridiculous the whole thing is. But it worked. So, hooray, I guess. And I think we've got to wrap up now. Okay. Cheers.